It's Sunday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns podcast presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. Thomas and I are back at it. I'm Beck. He's Thomas. We haven't done an episode together in a couple weeks. Ross has done a valuable work filling in for Thomas on episode 42 and myself on episode 43. But it's back to your regularly scheduled programming of the Dugas brothers, and we got a fun episode today that we're going to dive into some of these things that are going on in.
Flash that ring, BD.
There you go.
Yeah, that ring.
I might be itching my face a little bit more this episode. Talking with my hands a little bit more. But the honeymoon was great. I'm glad to be back stateside though. I got a little bit of color in my face, and so my pink Pavs hoodie matches well with the sun-kissed skin. So I was gone and semi off the radar the last week, but I was catching up on some news and stuff as we traveled home through the airport and just having time to kill. I saw and I sent it to y'all, and we're going to kick off this episode with this. Ray Tanner. I mean, this guy, I was talking to Ross before the show, and I don't know if I've seen or witnessed something like this fall off with Ray Tanner. I mean, he at one point was maybe going to have a statue built outside of Carolina Stadium, Founders Park, whatever you want to call it. And now, just as time passes and we move further away from those two national championships in 2010 and 2011, we get further away from that, and we get more of his now legacy as an athletic director, which has our three men's sports programs down and down worse than ever, and that's tough to comprehend because there hasn't been a lot of success in our men's programs over the years, and we were always, we maybe had a solid baseball program. We maybe would have a run here or there in basketball. We had, the Spurrier years in football, but overall, all three of these programs are down. And Ray Tanner, when being asked about it, responded that it's cyclical. And I think I sent y'all a tweet and said I'd like to cyclically beat his ass. Come on with that. That is so tone deaf because especially he's the guy that put us in these situations with our athletics programs. He was supposed to be the one that carried our athletics forward and brought us success. And to say that just because we're down in the dumps and it's coming back, I don't know where it's been cyclical for us. I mean, we haven't been good in baseball how long are the cycles? Are we expected to wait 15 years for success in every men's sport? We had a Final Four run in 2017. We've had one NCAA tournament appearance since that run. And for the last 3 years, outside of that NCAA tournament run under Lamont in year 2, we're 8-40 in SEC play, his other 3 seasons, including this one. We've shown no signs of program growth. The fans aren't excited. The fans aren't investing. And then we go and Ray Tanner goes and, let's give a big extension to Lamont, which I think y'all talked about a little bit on the episode 43 when I was out of town and talking about these buyouts. And pretty much what Ray Tanner has done is given, we hire a new coach under Ray Tanner. He has an ounce of success, and we get this big extension under Ray Tanner. We saw it with Lamont. We saw it with Shane. So I don't know the specific details of the baseball coaches. Shout out to the Cajun Cousins, but I don't know the specifics of the baseball coaches. But we haven't gotten a hire right in baseball since Ray left, and that was one of the sports where you thought, okay, just Ray Tanner knowing guys and the draw to work for Ray Tanner and a program that Ray Tanner built, you would think baseball wouldn't even have been a question, that we would have success built upon what he did. But it pissed me off reading that he said it was cyclical, and the fact that he's not our athletic director anymore, but we're still paying him almost close to $1 million to be a special advisor. And I just wanted to kind of bitch and moan a little bit about Ray because it really has been a wild fall from the top for him. And I think the more and more he speaks up on our athletics program, and the more his contributions are made to our athletics program, the more and more Gamecock fans are starting to say, like, we don't love this guy anymore, and you're never going to take away what he did as our baseball coach. But it's a sad thing to see how his time at the top, and maybe that's a whole nother episode where we could talk about most revered figures in Gamecock athletics. And I think he would have to be in the top four, if you're doing a Mount Rushmore type of debate, but easily in the top four, maybe even top three or two, as far as what he was. And now I don't know that many people like him right now. And a lot of people are forgetting about what he did as a baseball coach. And a lot of the younger fans don't remember what he did as a baseball coach. They only know him as an athletic director, and they're like, this guy sucks. So it's hard to see what's become of Ray Tanner. And when I saw that quote, I just thought we needed to kick off the show with that and get a little bit of that off my chest. But what are your thoughts on it, Thomas, specific to Ray, Coach Tanner? And then we'll get into current state of basketball and baseball. We had some games over the weekend for baseball and a basketball game yesterday. And we'll talk about those, specific current state in those sports.
Yeah. So I'm pretty torn on the whole Ray situation because you really can't take away what he did for us, winning those 2 national championships. He hasn't done anything egregious. He's not a bad person. He just, his run as our AD obviously didn't go the way that the Gamecock fans would have hoped it would. I'm blanking so hard right now. Is Chad Holbrook the coach that we hired to succeed him for baseball?
Yes.
So I think now, in hindsight, Chad Holbrook was the best hire we've made in baseball post Ray, and his biggest problem was that he was immediately following Ray. You know what I mean? Like, what Gamecock fan sitting here today wouldn't, like, I think we would all be happy if our baseball program was in the position that it was when we had Coach Holbrook, but we were comparing it at the time to what we had with Ray. And, maybe it was a little short-sighted for us to push him out the door when we did. And if we had given him a little bit more time, we could have been a more, consistent baseball program post Ray. And then was he the one who hired Frank?
Yes.
So if he hired, like, that's the thing. Like, we have not been consistent at all. But, I am old enough to remember when when our basketball program was coached. My freshman year, our head coach was Darren Horn. So the basketball program has been a real tough watch this year, but it really was a tough watch outside of a couple of NIT runs, in our childhood. So if Ray is not responsible for hiring Frank, that does substantially kind of decrease his success as an AD, and he really does not have a lot to hang his hat on. If Beamer does not turn it around this year, it's going to be a really bleak career for Ray. Beamer is Ray's last chance to leave a legacy, but this kind of I kind of throw this back to the rant that I had about our administration when Sterling got hired by LSU. I can't really remember if it was Ray who was pushing for the AD job or our administration offered it to him. But to hire someone with no previous experience as an athletic director and approve it was certainly a decision by our administration. So it's like there were other people involved with this decision that I don't hear Gamecock fans complaining about. Like, I think it does. Yes, the state of our men's program in basketball and baseball is not ideal right now, and that is a lot of that's in part due to Ray's tenure. But someone hired him, so I'm excited to see what Donati does the first time he has an opportunity to really do something. I am still, touching on my buyouts rant from last episode, Beck, when you were on your honeymoon. I don't want to fire Lamont. I want to give him a couple more years. I don't think that, paying $10+ million to fire a coach is going to give us an ability to go out and get a good coach and also pay NIL. Like, I think that we need to be fiscally responsible when we're navigating these two coaching buyouts. Like, maybe let them kind of limp on a couple more years. And I know that's tough, like a tough pill to swallow, but that's the situation that we put ourselves in. I mean, just look at Auburn, dude. They fire Gus. They're paying 3 or 4 coaches at a time right now. And I've already seen Auburn fans that are unhappy with Galesh, and he hasn't coached a game yet. They're mad about how many players they lost to the portal. I guess they just expected to retain everybody, when they're going through a coaching transition. And if he doesn't get there and have immediate success, like, he's already going to be on the hot seat. So it just goes to show, even a program with more money than us and more tradition than us has not been able to figure out their coach for going on 10 years now. So I think in this new landscape, we need to give coaches a little bit more time than I think fans typically want to give them. And even if we know that it's not going to work, just wait to pull the trigger when there's more money to go get somebody that could have a better opportunity. Don't shoot the next hire in the foot by pushing the guy before him out the door before we can afford to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some validity to that, but I also think, like, you, in today's day and age too, you get the right guy in, and it's not the old days where, all right, we're going to fire our coach and then we're giving our new coach a 3-year leash. I mean, people are still doing that to a certain degree, but I think the psyche of fan bases is they've seen these quick turnarounds in all sport, in football and basketball. I don't know specifics in baseball to a certain degree, but you're able to see these quick turnarounds, so the psyche of fans has changed. And so I think that's something to consider. And ultimately, I think it's about like in the situation of Auburn. I agree with you because they've just been cycling through coaches, and they probably would have been better off just keeping Gus Malzahn and letting it ride. I definitely think they would have had more success over the last 7 or 8 years if he had just remained the head coach and become that longer tenured figurehead type of coach for them, as opposed to them just trying to find the right guy and not succeeding. But the fans are gonna look at what's being done around the country, and I don't know if the fans are gonna want to wait and be mediocre. But what it does take, Thomas, is fans that care enough to pony up dough, and I think that's what Auburn had. Is they had enough
Right.
big money donors that said, all right, we're sick of Coach Harsin, like get him gone. We'll pay the buyout. We'll pay for the new coach. We'll still give him the resources. So it's going to take someone like that. I don't know if our basketball program or baseball program has those people where.
Right. I mean, and again, like I'm more patient with basketball and baseball because I'm not as invested in those sports. It doesn't hurt. I mean, I'd rather us be good than bad, but it doesn't hurt me to see us lose in those sports the way it hurts me to see us lose in football. You know, Dad took us to every single home football game from the time that we were 2 or 3. We went to three basketball games, and I don't even know if we went to a baseball game with Dad. You know, I think my first baseball game was in college. Like, it just wasn't, you know, we didn't follow basketball and baseball the way that we followed football. And that has, you know, that's just how I'm wired. So I'm willing to see if Lamont can figure it out rather than just pay this. You know, we saddle ourselves with bad contracts for these sports, and I'm willing to wait. I know that a lot of people probably want to see Lamont gone now, if not at the end of the season. If baseball goes the way it feels like it's about to go, a lot of people are going to want to see a change in baseball as well. But for me, it has to make sense now. Like, I don't want to do it just for the sake of change anymore. Because if we don't have a guy that makes sense and we don't have the means to go get him, and then the resources that he needs to compete, just wait.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a guy in basketball. I do think and we talked about it a little bit, the episode with Alfred Esmond when we did the baseball preview, and we talked about some potential guys that could come into the baseball program and give it some juice. And I think the pitching coach down at Coastal would be a good one. And I think probably the number one target should be Landon Powell. And he's coaching at North Greenville right now. He's won some D2 national championships. He played catcher under Ray Tanner at Carolina. He was a beast, like All-American guy, one of the better players in program history. And now he's finding success in the coaching ranks, albeit D2. But I think he would be a guy that fans could get excited about in the baseball program. Plus, he's young. Plus, he's a Gamecock. Like, I just think there's a lot of positives in Landon Powell, a guy like that in the baseball program that would give it some juice, or at least just give fans some excitement, and someone who I'd be willing to be patient with. Like Paul is, I mean, he's Ray's buddy. He's old. Like, I don't have time to be patient with Paul. Like, we hired this guy, and we needed to get immediate results, and we're not getting them. I mean, hell, this bullshit about they were tired yesterday, so they didn't do BP because they played a doubleheader on Friday,
Is that
and like we did,
don't,
huh?
aren't college doubleheaders fairly common? Like he's acting like it's some super unorthodox
That's what
thing.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like the quote just had me dismayed because I was like, okay, you played a doubleheader. These kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. Like this is completely normal. Baseball is not.
You brought lube? These
Yeah,
chicks are 18. They're good to go.
yeah. Like these guys. That was like I said. I was like, what the hell? And we go out. We don't hit well, and we lose to Northern Kentucky 3-2. We shouldn't lose to Northern Kentucky
Right.
at all in any sport ever. Like,
And we had to walk them off in game 2 as well, so it was pretty competitive all the way.
Just not a good first series for the baseball team, and it's only going to get more difficult. And we're probably like we're going to get into the season, and if we lose to Clemson, the series to Clemson, we haven't won the series against Clemson in I want to say at least 4 years. And then we're going to get into okay, we've won it in 2023, and then probably we probably won one series against Clemson in the last 5-6 years. That's unacceptable. We haven't been competitive in the SEC. The SEC stacked again this year. It's only going to get harder. So again, and I guess this all goes back to the point of, I think in baseball, if we could attract a guy like Landon Powell, that would be a home run. I don't think there's that guy in basketball. I don't know that there's a young hot coach that we could go and attract to our program if we fired Lamont. We'd almost be making if we fire Lamont, we're going to go get a guy pretty similar to Lamont, in my opinion. Right. So it makes more sense for me in baseball to pull the trigger. I do agree with you a little bit on basketball that it's going to be hard to find an attractive hire if we fire Lamont. But
the coaches in the SEC voted our job as the worst job in the SEC. So it's not like we're dangling some attractive position out on the market. Like our job is not thought highly of at all, not by fans, by other coaches. So there's that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to do it in basketball. So I almost do agree with you just from the buyout standpoint, and just seeing if we can right the ship. Also, basketball is a sport where one or two guys can change your entire team, and it's the sport that, unlike any other really in American sports, like one guy on a basketball team can take you from a bottom feeder to a bubble team, or from a bubble team to a contender. And so maybe we give Lamont more time, but it's just a sad time, and we really need a good football season in 2026. I mean, I think the fan base is starved of any type of joy from our athletics department, really since the Clemson game in 2024. I haven't enjoyed, there's been a complete lack of joy. It really, since that game, we lost the bowl game to Illinois. We sucked in basketball. We sucked in baseball. We sucked again in football. we're even worse in basketball, and we're trending towards being similar in baseball. I mean,
when I was working in the recruiting office, when we would have good news, I used to call it Gamecock calories because they could sustain, like, the good news about Gamecock football would sustain me. And there have been very little Gamecock calories to go around in the last calendar year. We're kind of just like living off of the first drive against Virginia Tech at this point, and off season news. There's like
yeah.
really nothing that we can hang our hats on right now.
But to keep the metaphor going, the off season news are those empty calories that like it's great, but it's not gonna get us. It's not gonna keep us going. We gotta get some real Gamecock calories via the football team this upcoming season. But it's a sad state of affairs, and that Ray Tanner quote. I know we rambled on, and we spoke a little bit to, specifically speaking to basketball and baseball, based off of what Ray said. And the team, we got smoked by Alabama yesterday in men's basketball. We mentioned the Northern Kentucky series for baseball, so it's just not going well. But we are gonna. The hope is football, which is the king and is the steak and potatoes of the Gamecock calories. Will hopefully give us new life in 2026. Speaking of 2026, we will be without Coach Joe DeCamillis. He was the special teams coordinator and associate head coach for the last two seasons, 2024 and 2025. Notably, we had Bakari was all SEC returner. We did decent in special teams. I don't think this is a big loss. I think he took a job with the Raiders. Good for him, and I know Joe DeCamillis has a great reputation among coaching circles and has a lot of experience. But I don't see this as a huge loss. Beamer hangs his hat on special teams, and I know we were really great under Pete Lembo, and he got a head coaching job because of it. And I think we were solid under Joe DeCamillis, but I think between Beamer's reputation in special teams and who his dad is and what special teams means to the way Beamer coaches, we can go find a guy that can be serviceable, and I think we'll continue to have solid special teams units under Beamer. He emphasizes it, and it is a very key part of the game, and often gets forgotten. But hopefully, we can pair a good offense and a good defense with special teams next season. And I don't think there's any potential candidates that have already been mentioned. I think this news broke late last night or even early this morning. I didn't see it till this morning. But Joe DeCamillis going to the Las Vegas Raiders. So we do have a void on our coaching staff that will be filled, I'm assuming, pretty quickly before we get into spring ball. What are your thoughts on this news, Thomas?
Pretty much along the same lines as yours. I think it is. I think we were good on special teams last year. I think because of the emphasis that Coach Beamer puts on it, he'll be able to find a guy that can do what he wants to do. I'm not saying that there aren't guys that are better at it than others from an X's and O's standpoint, and they're not innovative guys. But I think it's more of a mentality, and because it is a focus, because we put, we take extra practice periods to focus on it. That is why we are good on special teams rather than necessarily who the coach is. I think it's just kind of like, because we make it important, it is important. And I believe that we'll be able to fill this vacancy and not really see too much of a fall off.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it is an emphasis. That's why we play some of our best athletes and best players on. I mean, hell, Nick Harbor is a gunner on our punt team, and I know everyone laughs at that. Some of my buddies specifically have laughed at that, but it does matter. Special teams, and hell, Nick made some plays on special teams as a gunner that probably, if we didn't have a guy that could run like that, he probably wouldn't have been to the ball, on some of these muff punts or making a tackle. So I wouldn't say it's the biggest news, but it's notable. Whenever a coach leaves a staff, that there's going to be some fresh blood in there. Another guy that can recruit. I know the special teams coach probably isn't going to be the main recruiter, but it just helps to. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see who we get in there to to fill that role. A non-Gamecock related topic that I want to hit on, and it ties into a lot of things we've been talking about on this podcast and through this season and into the off season, and all these different things and nuances to college football in 2026. But Trinidad Chambliss, for those who don't know, quarterback for Ole Miss. He transferred in as a backup from Ferris State. Their starter goes down early in the season. He wins the job. He goes on an insane run with Ole Miss all the way to the college football playoff semifinals. Excellent player. And he filed an injunction to get a 6th year of eligibility based off of what was being argued as a medical redshirt year at Ferris State. And so he was appealing for a 6th year of eligibility. The NCAA ruled him ineligible. And so in the old world, okay, that means, hey, Trinidad, go to the NFL. He is projected to be drafted in the NFL if he were to enter the draft. I don't think he's QB1, but this man is very talented and very easily should be drafted if he entered this year's NFL draft. It's also, by traditional standards, a weak quarterback class, one would say. That's not my opinion. That's the opinion of NFL draft experts that do this. But he doesn't want to go to the NFL. He wants to play another year at Ole Miss. And so he files an injunction. NCAA says you're ineligible. So he goes and just goes to a local court in Oxford. Ole Miss judge wins the case against the NCAA. This is just it's a problem for me. I think it's bullshit. I thought it was bullshit what Alabama did with the basketball player. Slightly different situation because that guy had actually played professionally. So I think it's even worse what happened, the ruling that came down in the Tuscaloosa court. But similar in the fact that basically both judges in each case were graduates and fans of the program they were ruling on. I mean, Trinidad was signing autographs for the judge in court. I mean, it's just pretty laughable, the whole situation. And also, it's like, I mean, it just basically renders, again, it goes back to what purpose is the NCAA serving? Why has the NCAA let this go to where it's been? I mean, looking back in 100 years from now, I mean, Mark Emmert, who is, I don't know if he's still the active head of the NCAA, but I mean, that guy got paid millions of dollars for years and just did nothing right. Like the NCAA, everything that the NCAA is doing sucks. Like, and this whole situation sucks because the NCAA made a ruling and then it just got overturned in a local court. Like, so we're sitting around waiting for Rasul Faison to get cleared by the NCAA for like 3 months before the start of the 2025 season. For whatever reason, they can't figure that out. They immediately can rule Trinidad ineligible. They can get a quick decision on that. But then Ole Miss can just challenge it in a local court with an Ole Miss judge and win. It's just, it's stupid to me. There needs to be, and I don't know, like, can the NCAA at this point even put in parameters to some of these things? Like, are we going to get to the point where the transfer rule changes and then every time a kid wants to transfer, he just sues in court to be able to transfer? Like, where's it going to end? And so I think Trinidad's going to be exciting at Ole Miss, and Ole Miss will be an exciting team. And I'm not like mad at Trinidad Chambliss. I'm just more mad at the way it went down and how it's happening and what potential doors this could open down the line, where I'm talking, just chaos. Just it could cause chaos. It's a one-off situation right now, but it could open doors to more chaos and more bullshit to down the line. But what are your thoughts on this ruling?
I mean, I get why Trinidad wants another year. I get why Ole Miss wants Trinidad. I do think it's kind of ridiculous that he was signing a football for the judge, and that there's just I think the thing that fans get most frustrated with is the lack of consistency. So, Trinidad is going to get to play next year. It looks like Joey Aguilar at Tennessee is not. And it's like, it's not that, like, I'm a Tennessee fan and I hate Tennessee. So, like, the fact that they got ruled against, I love that. Like, if Tennessee's life is harder, I'm for that. But eventually it will come around and bite the Gamecocks. I would, even if it benefits our enemies, I can say that a uniform ruling that is consistent is better for the sport. But the NCAA has never been consistent. Even before NIL and transfer portal, they've never been a competent organization. So if it takes stuff like this continuing to happen for the NCAA to finally just die and the Power Four conferences form their own governing body and kind of take over college football, I'm for that. And I think that is what needs to happen. I think that, some collection of the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12 commissioners, however they want to structure it, could govern college football better than the NCAA is able to. I don't think that the NCAA has ever served a purpose, and that continues to become clearer each and every day. This is just the latest thing that just shows that they don't matter, and they never really had, like, their power was just simply because we kind of allowed it to happen. But they haven't done it. Like, if they had done a good job, I think more people would have been like, okay, like, we need to help them fix this. But because they've always been bad, it's just like, okay, you've never done right by us in the past. You're not doing anything to fix anything now. So we don't need, like, we're just going to figure something else out. And I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the incompetency has been, it's been happening for years. And you're right. Pre NIL, it was, they would bust a kid for, eating a cupcake at a fan,
Right. Like,
a,
I think the
a
most
fan bought him a
egregious thing.
cupcake and they'd strip him of all his titles and records. And then they'd let it slide on other cases where, the guy was getting paid, whatever. And
my favorite examples of why the NCAA stinks is like, I think it was a basketball player literally had a parent pass away and his coach like bought him lunch or something like in the wake of that. And that affected his eligibility. And then you had the whole UNC Swahili academic scandal, which was an actual, they hang their hat on the whole student athlete moniker. Like that's the core of what they claim to represent. And you have an actual thing where North Carolina was clearly just like undercutting the academic standards for their athletes. It got exposed because the general population caught on to it and figured out they could get an easy A to boost their GPA, and nothing came of it at all. So it's just the hypocrisy, the inconsistency, and that's always been there. There is definitely, we can create our own, or college football can create its own governing body, and I'm sure that they can do a better job than the NCAA has done. But someone does need to have power and final say, or we're going to continue to see teams with players that would help them win, file injunctions and lawsuits in court to try and help them win.
Yeah. Yeah, the college football does need a governing body. And we're definitely going to do a future episode where Thomas and I will present as commissioners of college football, this is what we'll present, how we would build the new college football going forward. That's definitely something for a future episode. We want to wrap with some exciting Gamecock athletics news. The women's basketball team took down LSU last night. It was the first ever women's basketball game on Saturday ABC primetime. Pretty cool. Just shows the draw of Dawn and the Gamecocks and this rivalry with Kim Mulkey and LSU, which isn't much of a rivalry considering they haven't beat us since 2012. So that's 18 straight wins now for the Lady Gamecocks. I watched the game. Thomas, you said you had it on at the bar, and people were tuned in. Great game. It lived up to the hype. It was back and forth. It was fast paced. It was physical. We continue to rise to the moment in these big games under Dawn. I've seen a lot of Twitter interaction, more so than anything, amongst LSU women's basketball fans and South Carolina women's basketball fans, and they really thought they had us this year. And the storyline with Malaysia Fulawai transferring from South Carolina to LSU, thinking the grass is greener, and she didn't have her best game, and we saw Raven Johnson continue to make winning plays, and Tessa Johnson was lights out from three, and we were working inside. I think LSU fans were complaining a little bit about the refs. I thought we kind of got gypped on a couple calls, especially in the second half, and the game was physical, but we were getting a lot of calls on us. Joyce Edwards fouled out, but a great win for the Gamecocks, and we're right now the top in the SEC and poised for another number one seed and a Final Four run. UConn looks pretty stout. I think I saw yesterday they have like a 44 game winning streak going. They beat South Carolina in the national championship last year, so we might be due up for a rematch potentially, which would be exciting. But this was a fun watch, great win for the Lady Gamecocks, and hopefully Dawn and the squad can make another great run in March.
Yeah, I did. I had the game on. I was able to queue up Sandstorm right as the clock expired and got the people going. But I really did hate to see Malaysia go, especially because she was an in-state product, and I just love her style of play. Like I think that there are very few women, even with how much the sport has grown, that play like she does. Like she's just a very exciting player to watch. So, I guess depending on what she wanted, will determine whether she looks back on the decision with regret. If all she wanted was just more minutes and more of an opportunity to start, she's gotten that. But if she's concerned about winning, I think she would have been better served staying with us. But yeah, it is a cautionary tale, and also too, as Gamecock fans, we don't know how much of the decision was just her. Like there could have been people leaning on her to make a move. These kids do get bad advice sometimes. There are people that have their own motives that influence these situations, but I mean, 18 in a row is very impressive. I would say that LSU is probably our biggest rival in the SEC, at least. So it's great to have that dominance over them. And I do think that we are on a collision course with UConn again. And I think it'll probably be that way as long as we have Dawn and as long as they have Gino. But yeah, that speaking of Gamecock calories, the women are the only ones that have been providing anything since we beat Clemson in 2024. So I'm excited to see them make the tournament again. Probably be a 1 seed, and I expect us in the Final Four, and I expect us to see UConn at some point.
Yeah, our team's built for March. We have a great point guard, experienced, just winning plays. Raven Johnson, that's what she does, and we have size, Ocott and Joyce Edwards, and we have Tessa Johnson was raining threes yesterday, so we shot well from three yesterday. So this is really it's a great team. They're fun to watch, and that was a great win yesterday for the squad. And again, we are sitting atop the SEC standings. We're on track for another 1 seed and hopefully a Final Four appearance for the women's team and Dawn Staley. So congrats to them. That's going to be a wrap on this episode. We appreciate everyone listening. Life's been crazy, so we're going to try and get more consistent as we get into spring and news out of spring practice. We'll always, continue to talk about the news that's going around in the college football landscape, talking continue talking, reluctantly continue talking Gamecock men's basketball and Gamecock baseball. I know we touched on women's basketball for the first time today, but we'll probably mention some more stuff about the women's team as they get into March and hopefully make a run. But please go to YouTube, subscribe, go subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You see the ats on the screen, at touchdowns 5 points or at TDs 5 points. So we appreciate everyone who listens. And again, hopefully we'll get some more consistency as life has calmed down a little bit on my side. And I'm looking forward to spring practice. And we're also going to probably have some episodes where we generate some talking points and talk about past games, memories, stuff like that. So looking forward to what we come up with and share with y'all. That's going to be a wrap on this episode. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.